Okay, so when I say Dubai, you're probably picturing those glittering skyscrapers, right? Pure urban ambition. But what if I told you there's another story? Today, we're going to head out of the city, way out into the desert, to uncover something really unexpected I stumbled upon. The story of the Dubai Desert Conservation Reserve.
No, seriously, just for a second. What's that first picture that flashes in your mind when you hear Dubai?
Yeah, I'm willing to bet it's something like this. You know, the Burj Khalifa scraping the sky, those crazy man-made islands, this super modern city that feels like it was built on pure will. That's the Dubai the world knows.
But there's this other side. A whole different story that's been happening right alongside that massive city boom. It's a story about conservation, about pulling a species back from the very edge of extinction, and about protecting this huge, wild legacy. This is the other Dubai.
And look, we're not talking about some tiny little park they just walled off. The Dubai Desert Conservation Reserve, the DDCR for short, it makes up a whopping 5% of Dubai's entire land area. Let that sink in. 5%. That is the single largest piece of land dedicated to any project in the whole emirate. Yep, bigger than any of those huge city projects. Okay, so let's get right into the heart of this thing, because the story of the DDCR, it's really this amazing comeback tale. And the star of the show? Well, it's one of the most iconic animals of the desert.
Say hello to the Arabian oryx. Locally, they call it al-maha, and this animal it's woven deep into the culture of Arabia. But you know, by the middle of the 20th century, things were looking really bad. Widespread hunting meant its future was, well, pretty grim.
And man, the journey back was a long one. By the 1960s, the alarm bells were going off. This species was in deep trouble. By '86, it's officially listed as endangered. But then, in 1999, the DDCR set this huge, ambitious goal. They said, we're going to bring the oryx back home, and we're going to build a healthy breeding population from scratch.
And you know what? Success is kind of an understatement. They didn't just meet their goal. This project became like the textbook example of how to do a reintroduction right. A massive win for conservation.
So get this, they started with fewer than 100 animals, and the population just exploded. By March of 2023, the reserve had over 400 Arabian oryx roaming free. Just incredible, right? But, and this is a big but, this is where the story gets really interesting.
Turns out you can actually be too good at your job in conservation. Yeah. By solving one massive problem, the DDCR accidentally created a completely new one. And this new problem, way more complicated. So here's the big switch. The first goal was simple, right? Save the oryx. Check. But the new challenge is so much trickier. See, with more than 400 oryx, plus a bunch of gazelles also doing great, all of these animals started putting a ton of pressure on the delicate desert plants. The very ecosystem they fought to save was now getting eaten into the ground.
And this quote from a Biosphere Expeditions report it hits the nail on the head. They're pretty much saying that the reserve just can't feed this many animals by itself, not without a whole lot of extra artificial feeding. The ark was getting a little too full.
So how do you solve a problem that you created with your own success? That's the huge question that modern conservation is all about. It's not just about saving things anymore. It's about smart, active management.
And for the DDCR, the answer is all about science. They basically turned the whole reserve into this living, breathing laboratory. They use data for everything, trying to keep that delicate balance just right.
And this is no guesswork, believe me. They have this amazing toolkit of methods. We're talking everything from boots-on-the-ground stuff like weekly animal counts and checking on the plants, to high-tech things like camera traps and even genetic monitoring. And every single decision they make is backed by cold, hard data. They even get volunteers involved in citizen science trips to help gather it all. So let's zoom in on one of these tools. It's called Body Condition Scoring, or BCS. And it's just a brilliant idea, super simple, but so effective. It lets them check the health of the whole herd without ever having to get close to an animal. They just visually check out the muscle and fat on them and can tell right away if the oryx are well fed or if they're stressed because there's not enough food to go around.
And you can actually see what they're looking at here. See the animal on the left? It's got a lower score, kind of bony, right? Now compare that to the super healthy oryx on the right with a perfect score of 5. You can literally see the healthy layer of fat. This kind of visual info is it's absolutely crucial when they're deciding what to do next.
Okay, so what do they do with all this information? Well, it feeds into this really careful step-by-step plan. First,
They relocate extra animals to other reserves. They also separate males and females to kind of pump the brakes on breeding. And they carefully manage the extra food they provide, trying to find that perfect balance. You know, enough to support the animals, but not so much that the desert itself can't recover.
And honestly, the technology here is a total game changer. I mean, just think about it. You've got these camera traps out there working 24/7. They're like the team's eyes across this massive 225 square kilometer reserve, and it lets them capture amazing data on really shy animals that you'd almost never see, like this incredible pharaoh eagle owl.
And it's not just about the big guys either. These cameras give them a picture of the entire food web's health. They snap photos of nocturnal critters, like the sand fox. And every single one of those pictures is another piece of data, another clue that shows the whole ecosystem is doing what it's supposed to do. It's thriving.
So, where does this all lead? What's the future look like? Well, the DTR's mission is about way more than just counting animals.
Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about the animals. It's about people, too. The reserve is this amazing outdoor classroom, and they have hundreds of school kids coming through every year. The real endgame here is to inspire that next generation. You know, the future scientists and conservationists who are going to get why this place is so important.
There's this quote that just perfectly sums up the whole spirit of the project. It says, "It is drops of rain that make creeks and rivers, lakes and oceans." And that's exactly it. Every little survey, every school visit, every single oryx they help, it's all just a drop of rain that adds up to this huge ocean of conservation.
And that kind of leaves us with one last thing to think about. In a place like Dubai, which is literally a symbol of human ambition and building cities, the choice to fence off 5% of its land and just let it be wild, that sends a really powerful message, doesn't it? It kind of makes you wonder, in a world that's getting more and more urban, what's the real value of keeping a place wild?